criminals are sentenced to a life in prison, their chances of escape are low, but never zero. And this guy must have seen his chance, because while being escorted out of the courthouse, he decided he had enough, so he made a run for it. He made it across the parking lot without being caught, but was later found by the deputies hiding under a house. So yeah, nice try, but I don't think this is what the judge meant when they said bail. But that wasn't the only time an inmate was able to slip away from the guards unnoticed. While everyone was distracted by the door, this guy activated stealth mode and ducked behind the transport van, and the guards were none the wiser. Then the inmate went into Fast and Furious mode and drove the van through the garage door to escape. I don't know what it is about police and garages, but it seems like they can't really handle their inmates in there. This guy didn't even bother with driving the car through the garage door. He just waited patiently for the door to start to close, and he bolted. He somehow managed to duck under the door just as it was about to close, trapping the guards inside. I love it when a plan comes together. Speaking of plans, it seems like this guy had one of his own. Step 1. Wait until the officer's distracted. Step 2. Use the wheelchair to your advantage. Step 3. Run. Step 1, complete. There's step 2 and step 3. Run! And when you've been caught, sometimes the only thing you can do to get away is to rely on your instincts. And for this guy, those instincts were climbing. And for his friend, his instincts were to wait until the officers forgot about him to make his move. And there he goes. But here's something they should teach officers not to do. A corrections officer can be seen opening the door for the suspect and escorting him out to the police cruiser. Apparently, the officer told her coworkers that she was taking him to undergo a psychological evaluation, but once they left, they never came back. Yeah, something tells me they were more than friends. This dashcam captures the moment a prisoner casually escapes from the back of a police car, but maybe he was playing it a bit too casual because the officers were able to catch him almost immediately and drag him back inside. Go back to jail, dude. Don't pass go, and definitely don't collect 200. This dude, on the other hand, saw an opportunity to cash his get-out-of-jail-free card and took it. He slowly exited the room to see if there was anyone around, and when he saw the coast was clear, he just walked out the front door? He even managed to slip out of his handcuffs, which might mark this as one of the easiest escape plans ever. You know what's even easier? Liking the video and subscribing. Okay, it's crazy things you can do with a little brute force, as shown by this guy who managed to break his handcuffs by twisting them against the bar in front of him. After doing that, he had to figure out his next move. Yes, that's it, the ceiling. It isn't very often that we get to see a video of a prison break while it's actually happening. This video was recorded when around a dozen convicts escaped jail, after one of the inmates' friends drove a bulldozer through the wall of the compound. Who knew the only thing you needed to escape lockup was a bulldozer, and a friend who was dumb enough to drive it? This inmate tried to break out of jail by disguising himself as his daughter. Not quite what I was expecting to hear, but let's hear him out. The plan was simple. During visiting hours, when his daughter showed up to prison, he switched places with her on the way out. And the plan worked. For like 30 seconds. It didn't take long for officers to catch on and escort him back to where he belonged. This prisoner thought he'd take his chances on foot with only one shoe. Sorry, dude. Looks like your chance at freedom flew away faster than your shoe did. But for these criminals, their chance at freedom stuck around a little bit longer. While taking the trash out, they decided to dumpster dive their way out of there. And I don't know what this guy was doing, but he decided not to pursue them for some reason. That's one way to get out of doing your chores. Speaking of getting out of things, these Canadian prisoners found a creative way to get out of jail. They waited for the ride to land on the prison roof. Once there, they hung onto a cord for dear life as the helicopter pulled them up and escorted them away. I don't know what's scarier, being in prison for life or hanging onto a cord hundreds of feet in the air while being dragged by a helicopter. Yeah, no thanks. This kid might not be afraid of heights though. In order to escape the sheriff's office, he took his chances by jumping out of a 2-story window. A few minutes later, the officer found that his suspect had escaped. In this county jail, these 3 criminals were caught on camera breaking out of prison by unlocking a secured door with a set of keys. With the help of this jail guard right here, all 3 of them were able to casually walk out of prison. I swear, I walked through TSA with more nerves than these guys escaping prison. While being loaded onto a prison bus, these ladies planned their next move. With no guards around, they decided it was the perfect opportunity to try to slip under the bus. They held their position while the bus traveled to the nearest stoplight and then made a break for it. Unfortunately for them, they were both caught by detectives and hitched a ride back to jail. You know the saying, when a door closes, a window opens. Well, I think this inmate decided to take that a little too literally. When he saw that window open, he jumped through and ran as fast as he could across the parking lot. But sometimes the door doesn't close at all. In the central lockup, the officer made the mistake of not closing the door properly. And when this woman saw her opportunity, she slowly walked over, calmly opened the door, and made a run for it. These two criminals must have figured out they could outrun anybody when they headed for the door. But before they knew it, the judge had his robe off and was chasing him down the flight of stairs. They really tried, but I think they underestimated how fast the judge was going to jump into action. Speaking of jumping, this guy decided to jump at the opportunity to escape by literally jumping out of a moving police vehicle while in handcuffs. Seems a bit reckless, but desperate times call for desperate measures. But sometimes escapes are less theatrical. For this guy, all he had to do was slowly back away, and when the guards weren't looking, make his exit. And while making his way through the courthouse, he had to cover up his handcuffs with his shirt and ditch his distinctive clothing. He had a pretty clean getaway, but it only lasted 2 hours. Nope, this isn't a marathon. This is what it looks like when hundreds of inmates escape a Brazilian prison. And if it was me recording this video, I'd be running for the hills, not watching as dozens of convicts run at me full speed. Sometimes all you need to escape is a blanket to drape over the barbed wire, strength to climb over a chain-link fence, and the guts to jump off of a roof. But they aren't the only ones willing to jump for their freedom. This guy ran through the metal detector and jumped from the second story in order to escape. And by some miracle, he walked away unharmed. But what is it with inmates thinking that jumping off of things is a good option? I mean, I guess it's their only option, but for this guy, I'm not sure it was. He jumps out of a second-story window and, man, that's a long way down. That just seems like a bad idea, my guy. But this lady's idea was simple. Find a way to get out of handcuffs, and she was trying everything. It even looked like she turned to Siri for help at one point. Hey, Siri, how do I get out of handcuffs? Siri was obviously no help, but eventually, with enough force, she broke free. And this is what happens when your escape plan comes crashing down halfway through. Yeah, turns out, ceiling tiles aren't as sturdy as you think they'd be. But you know what is sturdy? This escape plan. With the help of a friend, these inmates took taking out the trash to a whole new level. Good thing they had a change of clothes. It's probably better not to walk around town smelling like any Dufresne at the end of Shawshank Redemption. Sometimes it takes more than force to escape. Sometimes it takes superhuman abilities. This prisoner must have been bitten by a radioactive spider or something, because he was somehow able to climb up the prison walls better than Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield combined. Someone go tell Tom Holland he's out of a job. Hopefully Marvel's cool with escaping convicts being the next Spider-Man. This guy just ran out of the prison van. But can you blame him? The officers left the door open. I mean, what do you think he was gonna do? You'd think that prisoners would want to escape quietly, but that's just not the case for these guys. They literally filmed their entire breakout with their phone on light mode and flashlight on full blast. Then they took it a step further by posting the play-by-play right here on YouTube. There really are tutorials for everything these days. This is what happens when an escaped convict has his charisma and deception skills maxed out.
You live around here, bud? No. Where you live at?
Down the road by Pineville.
Do you have any form of identification on you?
No, man.
What's your name?
Robert Jones.
Robert Jones?
Uh-huh.
What's your address?
I don't have an address. I'm at the hotel. We're working on houses and stuff like that.
What is? We got an escapee.
Oh, shit. Where from?
Prison. Hey, this is Carl. Subject wear glasses? Nothing about glasses. How old is your guy? You're how old?
50. I was born in 56.
No, I'm just doing my job,
I
man.
know you are.
Do jog again in the future. Carry some ID with you. Be careful, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'm not sure what his whole plan was, but I guess it started with trying to squeeze through the bars, which honestly looks like one of the most uncomfortable ways to escape prison.
Come on.